The reading from Emmett Fox is one of the 7 main aspects of God that he talks about, and this is the first one. The first one is God is life, and I know we'll probably, and then there's God is truth, love, intelligence, soul, spirit, and principle. So we won't be hearing all of those because they're for each day of the week, but the first one of his discussion on the main aspects of God is God is life. The first main aspect of God is life. God is not just living, nor does God give life, but God is life. Where God is, there life is. When you are sick, you are only partly alive. And when you are tired or depressed or discouraged, you are only partly alive. Few people express God in an adequate way because they lack the sense of life. Joy is one of the highest expressions of God as life. Actually, it is a mixture of life and love. And the Bible says, the sons of God shout for joy. And when we realize our divine son or daughtership, we must experience joy. Joy always has an expansive effect, just as fear has a contracting effect. When a person says, I can, you notice an expansive and forward movement. But when he or she says, I can't, there is a retraction. You could not imagine a person saying, yes, I can, with a shrinking gesture, or no, I can't, in an optimistic or forthright way. The body always expresses the thought, and the thought of life heals and inspires, whereas thoughts of fear and death contract and destroy. Realizing divine life heals the sick. Animals usually respond quickly, and plants very quickly indeed, because they do not have that strong sense of personal egotism that most human beings do. They never make up their minds that they cannot get well or that sickness is sent for a good purpose. Neither do they give way to discouragement because they have not been healed faster. There's a short reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 26. For God gives to a man or woman that is good in his sight, wisdom, knowledge, and joy.
The Lamsa translation is similar. For to a man or woman who is good in his presence, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy. So today we're lucky enough, Lori's going to be doing the talk. Lori, what's the title of your talk for those who missed it when we sent it out?
Welcome to 2025. Welcome to the evolution.
Go for it.
I don't know if you're aware, I don't know, I think you all are in this particular gathering, but we are going through an evolution. And that is an enormous concept. I mean, that is, if you really think about it, it can only blow your mind because we don't know what that means. We've never been through one. We came in to these lives with a pre-programmed sort of set of rules and expectations and social shoulds, religious shoulds, spiritual ideas, all of this that were there for us to pick from. But evolution, by its very nature, is something that is outside of our definition. And yet, I've been absolutely living on YouTube for the last 3 weeks, listening to people who are psychics, psychic tarot readers, people who are physics professors, astrologers, all kinds of people who, at one point in my life, I would have said, God, Lori, you're insane. Like, you're really out there. That whole phrase, woo woo. And I've been a little embarrassed throughout my, over 30 years of being interested in spirituality and actually being completely dedicated to it, heart and soul, to its exploration. I've still felt a little embarrassed, like I'm not quite fitting into the norm. I always describe myself, oh, I'm a little bit out there. You know what? That's where we all are. That's where we all actually are. What is the dream or the pretend is all of the systematic stuff that we've come up with that keeps us safe from life. We didn't come here to be safe from life. And it's a very big topic to think about. Okay, so why did I come here if I had to suffer all of these different traumas? And, like, did I come here to suffer? There are big questions in here for each individual person. But I like the idea that Abraham Hicks puts forth. They say, not one of you planned to come here so that you could suffer. You planned to come here to show what you could do, to explore, to be like a little kid on the playground. And then things happened. And then we have to define them for ourselves. It's like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. We feel better when we understand why. In an evolutionary period like this, all bets are pretty much off. But I can tell you some things that have been happening for me since about a week before Christmas. Because I'm not always as tuned in to energy shifts as some others profess to be. Like, I don't know. I just never thought I was. I know I'm extremely sensitive, but this was beyond what anything I'd ever experienced. What started to happen for me was an absolute removal of a need or a desire or a thought of, like, what do I do next? What do I do next for my business? What do I do next for Lori? What do I do? It was like just this space, and I could feel an actual energy shift. I felt as though my being was being shifted into a whole different Lori. And I started to get lots of different breakthroughs. And they came from everywhere. They came from the YouTube videos I was looking at, from Bashar, from Abraham Hicks, from the people in physics, from the people who were psychic tarot readers. So many things that just dropped in. And it came from therapy. Things that I suddenly started to see myself not only differently now, but differently from my 20s, like reframing where I was in my 20s. Now, what does that have to do with evolution? What I am learning is that evolution for us is a shift of the denser parts of our body into our light being. So we're changing our identity. Some will feel it, some will not. Some will go with it, and some will not. Those who want to live in a world where we care for each other, who want to live in a world where compassion and intuition and emotion and all the things that we love so much here, those people will be creating a new earth. This is trippy stuff. Like, what the heck does any of that mean? You know, that's pretty trippy. The people who don't want to, the people who like fighting, the people who want to argue and everything else, they're going to they're going to stay in a darker earth. It's an energetic shift. Now, whether or not that even makes any sense to you, or whether or not you agree with it, what happened for me was a complete shift in terms of what I'm doing in my business, how I'm doing my business, how I feel in terms of myself. So many little things that were big things about that held me back they're just like, no. And when it comes, if you are having trouble sleeping, this is a sign of the evolutionary shift. This is happening to me too, still is. Suddenly I can't get to sleep before 3, 4 in the morning. Really? That sucks. But there it is. You know, if you're having headaches, if you're feeling dizzy, um, if you're finding that your interests are suddenly shifting a lot, these are all signs of you perceiving the evolutionary shift that we're going through. The fires in California. I just sat there and cried because at the thought of all of these animals being killed and wounded and all of the people whose lives were just removed really rang with me, because I had to rebuild my life when I went completely broke, but I still got to keep my paperwork. I still got to keep my pictures of family. I still got to keep all of that. They didn't. But it's a sign. It's a sign of not of not of some weird thing like this is God's anger. That's like nonsense stuff. The our consciousness, our world is shifting. And so the question for us as spiritual people is, what do we do in a period like this that is so chaotic? Do we stick to the old ways of thinking about things? Do we stick to what we know, or do we start to let ourselves expand? Do we start to look at things in a different way, from a very different perspective? I don't think that if you have a kind of spirituality that really does support you and is flexible, will move with you, I don't think you need to change anything. If it's really helping you, if it still lets you grow, if it still lets you do the things that are important in spirituality, like question, hold your beliefs feet to the fire, make it be real for you. If you've already got that, keep doing that. But where we're going to suffer is if we demand that we are going to somehow go back to an easier time, easier in quotes, or that we're going to move forward to a time that is 100% recognizable. That is not going to happen. So all of the fear that is in the world right now, from the California fires, from all of the political stuff that is going on, that feels very and is very threatening. Where is our power as evolutionary beings? Everybody in here has worked with energy. Even the two gentlemen you guys don't know, but I do. Everybody in this room has worked with energy and knows that it is powerful. I don't think we yet know how powerful it is. And that is, I think, where we need to put our focus as we move through this period. We have a choice to resonate fear. And I'm not saying you should never feel fear. This is not my message tonight. We are allowed to feel fear. It's part of the palette of the colors of our emotion. We're not supposed to not feel things. We're supposed to be constantly trying to move forward and upward a little bit. We just want to be trending in the right direction. Why? Because we want to be good little boys and girls? No, not at all. Because we want to bring that energy into this new earth. We want to bring our honest hope, not hoping against hope, not hoping even though it's like, well, I know it's going to suck, but I'm going to hope. And no, what can you actually, it can be this big. It can be this big. It can be whatever you want. But what is it that gives you that sense of this is truth? This is high truth for me. Start thinking about what those things are. And when you can actually bring yourself to feel into them and do that on a daily basis, which I'm finding very challenging. I'm finding myself up against that. But when you can do that, when we can do that even a little bit more than we've ever done it, we are staking a claim in the evolution that we want. We are staking a claim in the evolution built of energy that is 10,000 times stronger than the dark. So no matter how many people out there in the political world are screaming their heads off and trying to kill each other, trying to do it, trust me when I tell you that spending even 4 or 5 minutes a day feeling into the truths that you feel are true, regardless of what's happening, have an impact beyond your small self, way beyond your small self, way beyond. That's where you have to sort of trust, but understand that that's the nature of energy. Energy doesn't just stay inside of you. As I read in this wonderful story, there was a man who didn't, no, it was a video. He said, he went to a doctor. He said, I don't believe this stuff. This is very woo-woo, this energy stuff. Like, what is this? This is nonsense. And the doctor was brilliant by saying, okay. He said, okay. So if I give you an EKG, where do I put the little, I forget what they call them, little monitors. And the guy said, you put them on my chest and like my arms and or wherever. And he said, right, the outside of you. If your energy stayed only inside of you, I'd have to open you up and put them in there. And the guy had an epiphany. He was like, oh. So our minds like to define things in concrete and absorbable amounts of information. It's just what the mind does. And so my mind has tended to think, well, I know my energy goes beyond me, but I figured without thinking about it, I think I sort of assumed it stops about here. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't go very far. Wrong. It's part of the collective. And when you put sweetness into a salty cake, you make a difference. And you keep putting more sugar in and more sugar in. And the fact is that that sugar is really more impactful than all the salt. That's the hard thing to understand, but it is nonetheless true. And I don't mean that about cake. I'm using that as a metaphor, of course. But what we need in this evolutionary period is, first of all, to understand that this is what we're going through. This is not a time that we need to define as the downfall and the end of, and we're doomed. This is not accurate. This is the ending of certain systems the way they've been given to us. There are young women out there now. I just heard about this. I find it really fascinating. this movement called 4B. Have any of you heard of this thing? This is amazing to me. So there's a movement. It came out of, I think, Korea or somewhere in that area. Women in that area decided we're not putting up with bad relationships and men who don't respect us, and so we are not going to date. We're not going to have sex. We're not going to get married. To guys to men, and what they mean is to anybody who's going to be disrespectful and everything else. This is a big breakthrough that people, young women in America have started doing this now. And one of them even got onto TikTok and said, I don't care if the entire population goes extinct. I'm not doing it anymore. Now, while men feel very threatened by this, I feel that this is about women finally respecting ourselves enough to say when enough is enough. When to say, this is not right for me. This is not worthy of me. This is not what I'm going to put up with. Enough, 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 enough. And we have allies in men, but they have not been at all vocal. There's been nobody who stood up for women but us. And it's been a fight. So this is part of the evolutionary thing. Here's another one. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said to me, we were talking about this topic of what's changing in the world. And she said, were you aware that, or are you aware that most of the drugs, if not all of the drugs that are out there for specifically women's physical issues have only been tested on men? And I said, that L'Oreal, that's what I said. I was like, what the hell? And she said, yep, it's true. She said, there's a big movement now, a big upswell of younger doctors, younger women doctors who are going, no, we're going to start retesting all this crap, because the bodies of men and women are completely freaking different. So that's another part of the evolution. This year of 2025 is predicted by people who are far more psychic and tuned in than me, and it's pretty much all of them, to be one of tremendous upheaval. So what do we do? How do we think about it? How do we feel about it? One thing that helps me is knowing that, number one, I feel quite certain that we're moving towards better. And I understand that when you move towards better, you got to have a bunch of breakdown. You got to have a bunch of stuff happen that really freaking hurts, that really confuses you, that makes you have to reach to stand in a different relationship to the perspectives of your life. If you are somebody who loves to learn and grow, this is a really exciting time to be alive. But you better have the tools to not lose your damn mind if you're watching stuff happen that really scares you. We need the tools to say, I have to settle my nervous system. I have to do that. Number two, staying with me. I'm lucky. I don't have kids. I don't have like distractions like that. So I get to spend a lot of time alone. And in doing that, I get to reflect, and I get to haunt YouTube, and I get to do my work, my spiritual work. And I get to remind myself, as you can too, even if you have kids, grandkids, and great grandkids, you can still remind yourself, am I okay in this moment? And if the answer is yes, keep that reminder. If the answer is yes, but, then the next step is, I know I can deal with this. I know I can find help. I know I have resources. We have to start leaning away from asking to be rescued, even by the divine. I'm not saying you need to stop praying if that helps you. For me, I know that if I ask for help, I know who I'm asking. I'm actually asking my guru. I'm asking Amma. But I'm also not even asking her. I'm asking myself. I'm asking my higher self. This is one of the things that Bashar said, and I'll leave you with this because I find it incredibly helpful in such a tremendously challenging time. See if it hits you the way it did me. In one video, and I'll find it for you, he said, look, your mind cannot and never has come up with a new idea ever. What? Your mind has never and will never come up with a new idea. Your mind is only capable of understanding what happened. It's capable of looking back and going, what happened, or parsing out what just, that's what your mind is freaking great at. So where do the ideas come from? And here's the I think it's analogy is the word I'm looking for that he gave that I thought it stuck with me. I find it so exciting because it means there's no boundary anymore between my perception of this person and my perception of what the rest of me. There's no separation. He said, it's as if your higher self is standing above, like on a cliff, and can see all of the roads below you. I was picturing like Route 66 for some reason. And it's like your higher self is standing up there looking down and going, look, turn left. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but turn left. And yourself is going, but the thing's right over here. Nope. Turn left. And the light went on. The light went on. There is that it's not up to me to come up with great ideas. It's up to me to accept, open, have fun, inviting in new ideas. Because the brain cannot do it. What a load off. The evolution is not something to fear if you want to take the perspective of being one of the co-creators of the new earth. And for me, count me in.
Thank you, Lori. Comments, thoughts to share? And thank you, by the way. I'll get to you in a minute, Leah. I want to thank you for the concept of it's not us. Because thinking back, what appears as a new idea to me is what I call fermenting. It just sort of pops up. So, thank you. Okay, Leah, you had something to say?
Yeah, I think quite a few of us had. And I think we all agree, Lori, that was a great talk. And I'm with you. YouTube is my go to thing. I've listened to Bashard, Next Level Soul. I adore him because he does ask intelligent questions to whoever he's talking to. And it breaks it down not to like, oh, you're dumb. He breaks it down so you get to the nitty gritty of what they're talking about. And you're like, yes, most of the, I would say probably about 99%, it resonates with me. And he's got people on there for all kinds of things. But yeah, they've talked about this year. It's going to feel like an up and down, up and down. And so what needs to come up will be coming up, but it's how you perceive it as to whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. I said, otherwise, yeah, this is going to be a great year. And all of us are here for a reason. We chose to incarnate in this lifetime. We're here for a reason. Just because we have no clue, it doesn't mean
that we did not somehow up there decide, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. These are the lessons. Because in this physical body, we want to say, why me? When that has nothing to do with why me. It's why not? It's learning, it's enjoying, and it's just allowing. So, like you said, with the new idea coming in, it's allowing that thought to come to you and you acknowledge, oh, yeah, okay, now that makes sense. You okay. And some things that we have gone through, the trauma, whatever, sometimes it does take years. There's been a couple things it's taken like 60 years or whatever, and go, oh, I get it. So yeah, I really enjoyed the talk, and you too. Oh yeah, it's fantastic because when you need something, it will show up. And I will shut up now because I know Lori R and Ellie really
Yeah.
wanted to talk too. So I will say thank you, Lori. It really, I really liked it because to me, you brought out what I've already been thinking, feeling, seeing, hearing. You made it more verbal as a collective group. So it's like, yeah, I'm with you on that. I get it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do Ellie and then we'll do Lori R. Okay, go for it.
Um, Thank you for your talk, Lori K. That was confirming. Um, Last year, well, some of you may know, but Lori R definitely knows. My walk has been last year was an awakening for me. It was re-questioning everything that I've been taught, re-looking at, everything. And evolution was a good word. Last year, I tapped into quite a few gifts that I think I knew I had, but based on the circles I was in, there it was all taboo. And so last night, I pulled a card from one of my oracle decks, and this is what the card is. And the word at the bottom is freedom. So Lori K, evolution was a great word topic that you used. And the guidance from that card, and especially when you said, Lori, ending of certain systems. And so freedom, of course, the word freedom went back to that. But the guidance of this card, your power is eternal, and yet you're held down by heaviness of burdens tied into emotional commitment. Somebody fears your power, having recognized your full potential on all levels, and has led you to buy into the false doubt, worry, and insecurity. Restriction and control has dimmed your spirit and suffocated the expression of your soul. It's time to fly the nest and release yourself from those who have clipped your wings. Each of us has been gifted with free will, so rise freely above anything that's enslaved and imprisoned you and allow your loaded mind to be liberated as your heart and soul soar to new heights.
Wow.
Sorry, I'll type it in there. But
Holy God, that's great. Go ahead, keep talking.
um, but it's been a year of awakening and re-questioning and looking at everything, how everything is interconnected, how everything meshes together, how there are no walls except for the walls that we put up through segregation, through religion, through government, through all of that. And when we're brave enough to break down those walls And I believe walls are meant to be broken. I mean, that's my personal opinion. You can agree with or disagree with, I don't care. But when we reach that point that we don't care what people think about us, that's a very dangerous place to be. We have a new strength in that, I don't care what that religious circle says. I'm not there anymore. I don't care what this group of people says. That's not who I am anymore. And that is a very liberating thought. So, Lori, when you were speaking of your subject matter today, and this card came up last night before your talk, I thought this week was going to be one of those interesting weeks. And not to mention, it's a full moon, and the full moon being in Cancer and change and evolution. There's that word again. I mean, when the universe is behind you, there's nothing or no one that can stop you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Lori R. is next.
I just love how every week we have the teachings and then everybody contributes that they've been on the same path, and it's either a conclusion or a confirmation, or it helps them put something they've still had a little up in the air about during the week. It kind of ends it and puts the cap on it. You get the whole picture. And I just think that's amazing that that happens here every week. And Laura, one of the things that really stood out, and thank you for your talk, that was fabulous. I didn't know where you were going with evolution. I had no idea it would be this. So that was good. But you had said our energy is part of the collective. At the end, and the light bulb went on, it's not all about us. We don't have to have every answer. We don't have to figure everything out. We have a body around us here every Sunday night. When we are close together, we're not all in a community in the same state and city. We have people in our group, and all of us are a collective. We all can work together, and we can find and come to those conclusions and find those ways to work through the things we need to work through. And I just love that. Just to have that terminology, energy is part of a collective, that really helped me with some things that I'd been studying and going through. And then you said we're moving toward better. People are so afraid, but the new presidency, we're about to have an inauguration, and a lot of people are nervous about that. And a lot of people have said some things to me. I said, I'm not the least bit worried. Just like Lori said, we're moving toward better. God gave me a prophetic word about the future, and I can't be afraid of what's going on in government, even though it seems, and I do say seems, like we could be heading towards trouble. There's some amazing things about to happen. There's an awakening in this world that's coming, and I don't think it's too far off. And I think we have to look towards that and not always have our eyes on what seems to be here. We have to look and have faith to believe that the things that Spirit and God, whoever your divine is, has revealed to you are coming. And we are all a part of it. It's not just this person, this group, that group. It's all of us working together. So thank you so much.
Oh, Lori, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else with a contribution? Doesn't look that way. Okay, let's go into our silence, folks, and see what the divine has to impart to each of us. And just listen for the ding, which will call us back here. We thank the divine for having brought us together again, for giving us the opportunity to share and grow in wisdom as we share. We thank you for the love you've given each of us, the gifts you've given each of us, the gifts you're preparing to give us, the wisdom you're enabling us to grow into. We thank you for watching over us as we depart from here, helping us to be in your service and guiding us back here as soon as possible. We also thank you for noisy parrots who want to get in on the act. For all the good that's good, dear God, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And we all say,
Amen.
Amen. Folks, be blessed, stay warm, stay out of trouble, get into good deeds and good energy. And we'll see you all next week. I think I'm talking next week, and it's going to be a sort of different exploration of the Samaritan story, thanks to Nadia Bowles-Weber. So take good care in the meantime, and if you need support in something, you know how to get hold of us. So long, farewell.